Welcome to Chicago Drives Podcast, your go-to source for all things related to driving in Chicago. From navigating the city's busy streets to understanding the latest traffic laws. What are your questions? Our amazing guests are some of the best people in the business to answer and keep you ahead of the automotive curve. Am I ready to drive alone? What's that sound? Did I get ripped off? How do I protect this huge investment? We are here to help you become a safe and responsible driver on the road. So buckle up and join us in this journey through the ins and outs of driving in the Windy City. Welcome to Chicago Drives Podcast.
Hi, and welcome to Chicago Drives Podcast. This is our third episode, and today we're going to have a very exciting podcast with a lot of information, a lot of things to learn about how your team can get a driver's license, what are the requirements, what are they supposed to do, and for that, we're going to be having a very, very good friend of mine that is the education coordinator here in Chicago, and Nova driving. His name is Anthony Arguello. Welcome, Anthony.
Hi, nice to be here in the program.
Hi, so you're excited that we're going to talk about one of your topics that you love, because since he's the team coordinator here in Nova, so he knows all this information about how to get a license. Are you excited about that, Anthony?
I'm excited about going over a lot of information. There is quite a lot in terms of teens getting their license here in Illinois.
I know, this is very exciting. But before we go into the questions, Anthony, tell us, how can we ask, or how can we put this in an easy way so parents can understand what's the process or the requirements that the kids should need to do in order for them to get their license? We're going to be asking questions about this type of topics, and you with your expertise are going to help us answer all these questions. How about that? Are you excited about that?
Yep, I'm excited, and we'll talk about at the end about where to find this information, following this video. So for all the viewers that are watching us today, so how can we ask them, or can you tell them about our program here in Chicago, about our team programs? Tell us. The first question I want to ask, what or how old are the kids supposed to be in order for them to start getting through the process of getting their license? Right, so the Teen Driver's Ed program typically targets those between the ages of 15 to 17 and around 3 months of age. For students to start out, they just have to be the age of 15 by the end of their classroom program, meaning if their last day of class occurs after their 15th birthday, they'll be able to enroll in that class. If the class ends before their 15th birthday, they'll have to enroll in a different classroom program. But you can basically start as early as 15, and traditionally in high schools that usually is maybe the end of freshman year, beginning of sophomore year.
So we could say if the child is 14 and a half-ish, he can enroll in a program?
More or less, depending on the schedule.
On the birthday too. You mentioned the birthday.
Right. It's both on the birthday and also on the schedule of the driving school. Like Nova, for example, we have a variety of programs that either meets 4 days a week, twice a week, or in this case, once a week. Once a week programs are great for those who are younger, 14, and not close to 15, but maybe a few months away. And so they're able to take the time in the program, and by the time the program ends, they're 15 and they've satisfactorily completed the requirements.
Wow. So parents that you're listening to this, so if you want your teen to start with the process of getting the license, because it's a lot of process, a lot of steps, but don't worry, we're here to help parents that want to get their kids right, and in that mood of getting to learn how to drive. All right, the next question is, what is included in the Driver's Ed course? What do we see in this type of course for the kids to learn? So
very common, not necessarily misconception, but something that parents often overlook is the full requirements of driver's education. It's a complete all driver's education requirements from a school, high school, driving school. You have to complete a 30-hour classroom course satisfactorily.
30 hours.
Yeah, beginning to end, all 30 hours of that course, and the curriculum requirements within, whether they require you to do activities, projects, homework, all of that has to be completed. You also have to complete a range course, driving lessons with the driving school, and specifically with the driving school. So parents can't supplement or replace this requirement. This requirement is achieved either through 8 hours of behind the wheel practice with a driving instructor, or a 6-hour program in which you are also doing an additional 6 hours of observing teenagers drive.
Wow.
And these are at the very least what a driver's ed program contains. Some students may do maybe a classroom only program to do driving elsewhere, or vice versa, doing a classroom, a driving program, say with us, because they've already achieved the classroom requirements elsewhere.
Well, because we know here in Chicago, and I'm pretty sure in all the states, we have this course in some high schools. Some high schools, they don't have it. So what are your recommendations for those parents? We provide a lot of support for the driving, especially when they're going behind the wheel. We have a lot of support on that with the parents. So what do you recommend to the parents? To let them go through the school, or to come to us to Nova Driving School? What do you think? What are your thoughts about that?
This is not necessarily to knock any quality of, say, our CPS schools and our other public schools in the state, but those are, instructors there who take a lot on their plate. Physical education students, instructors take a lot on their plate, and they're not have a core focus on driver education. We focus on driver education here at Nova. That being said, public school and its driver education requirement is very convenient for the student who's already in their school, and for a lot of public schools is already a requirement to take the class. So by all means finish the classroom requirements, but usually the little wrinkle is in the driving requirements. The public schools cannot facilitate the driving lessons for all of their student, all their grades of students. And so students and parents are more than happy to complete the classroom in one school and finish it in another school, whether it is a public school or a private school like Nova. So if you'd rather not be on a waiting list, then at Nova you have a variety of schedule offerings, can set up the schedule to your convenience, and it is a way to get those requirements done sooner so that your teen doesn't have to wait that long.
Exactly. And another thing that I want to point out, Anthony, is the instructors. The instructors we have here at Nova, when we're talking about instructor, what do you think we means that? Because every parent is going to say, hey, is that instructor going to be good for teaching my child? Are they prepared for teaching my child? Because honestly, as a parent, I am not going to be teaching my child because I'm always nervous, or, oh, be careful with this, be careful with that. Let's talk about a little bit about the instructors. What are the qualifications of the instructors that do behind the wheel with our teens?
Yeah, so from the parent's point of view, when you're not talking about a high school providing driver's ed, then you're a little worried, like, okay, this is a business, so they just hire any person off the street to do driving lessons. Right. But driving schools are, and this is a surprise to a lot of parents, certified by the state of Illinois. You cannot just, a random person can't decide, I drive well, I want to teach someone how to drive. A driving school has to be regulated by the state of Illinois. Its staff, whether it's regular staff or even its behind the wheel instructors and classroom instructors, have to be background checked. Just a rigorous. So they have to go through a regular process, like if you're going to teach in a regular school, because that's where we go. We go through background checks and all that stuff. Awesome. And that's on top of Nova's own requirements in terms of education requirements and capacity of the staff member to undergo a very rigorous training course. Especially for the behind the wheel course, in which we cover safe driving, defensive driving, those habits, as well as getting them ready for the road exam, and extracurricular topics on the road as well.
So the type of curriculum you use, you mentioned that you are hands-on, you do projects here, projects there, you get that ongoing interaction with the students in the classroom. I think that's one of the things that I really enjoy, or recommend any parent, that when your kid comes to a class, it's not just read the book, right? We have all these activities and hands-on and all of the things. What are the things that do you think the student can take out from this type of courses?
In terms of, would you say like the
knowledge,
like extra knowledge?
Yeah.
So 30 hours of driver's ed. I'll be honest, a lot of students learn the fundamentals in a few hours, whether it's behind the wheel or whether it's in the classroom. But it's not just about the fundamentals, and we really stress to our students that it isn't just about the fundamentals. To really rein in any sort of, we want them to be confident on the road, but it's a fine line between overconfidence, underconfidence, just right in the middle. So there are additional topics to not just help them out on the road, because defensive driving is not just covered in the permit exam. There's additional topics such as, when it becomes to something as simple as a right turn, all the variables that can happen in an intersection during a right turn. When it comes to driving, let's say on the highway, how does the driving differ, whether it's regular weather, nighttime driving, inclement weather like rain, snow, and Chicago we get, all of the above.
All of the above, especially here in Chicago, that we have those awful weather moments, right?
Yeah, so we do have a lot of supplemental chapter work and topics that are also required by the state of Illinois. Things like car maintenance, buying a car, the financial tips for buying a car when the student comes of age, physics of driving. A lot of misunderstandings and loss of control vehicles happen from a driver not understanding how their car is going to react in an emergency situation. Whether it's things like how to basic driving skills to get your permit, but do you know all the implements in your car? I mean, we know our seat belt and our seat and everything,
all
but
the safety,
even something as simple as adjusting the seat is a skill that goes overlooked in even adult drivers.
Yes, I always tell the students when they come into a classroom, just want to share something with you, that driving is not about like luxury, or it's a privilege and it's a necessity. It's not because you're gonna have a car and then boom, right? You're responsible, yes, but the other part of that, it's you're becoming responsible, but also when you're making your decisions. Because decision making is one of the big thing, or the big chunk when the kids are starting to drive, right? So what are the steps? Okay, now we talked about the steps of how to get a license, right? Age, we talk about age, 14 and a half-ish, kind of close to 15 to start getting. So what's the next step after that?
So during a classroom course, and every driving school is different. For Nova, for example, we have this milestone at day 4 of a driver's education course. During a classroom program, a student is made eligible to obtain their permit. Another misconception is a permit proves that the student is in a driver education course and can now start learning how to drive.
But it doesn't mean that it's over.
It does not mean that it's over, as we get the occasional student that just suddenly stopped showing up as they thought the permit was the end-all be-all. So through that permit, they can then learn, practice at home with their parents, talk about that practice in the classroom. And it's meant to be, because the classroom isn't just supposed to be a lecture and end. We want to talk about the students' experiences on the road. And so getting the permit that early encourages the student to practice and talk about that practice in the classroom. After they get the permit, they then commence with the remaining classroom requirements until the end. And with the permit, we have a new milestone. Because we have to talk about getting the license.
Yeah, of course.
So for the license, the following things have to be true. You have to have your permit for at least 9 months.
At least, okay? At least.
Technically, I believe it's 9 months and 1 day. So the DMV will be a little prickly if you show up exactly at the 9-month mark.
Exactly, yes. Very strict. Even days, right? Okay,
the second requirement is that you have to be at least 16 years old. So the way that this can get, again, overlooked, if you obtain your permit as a 15-year-old and 9 months pass, you're still a 15-year-old, you have to wait until you turn 16. If you obtain your permit as maybe you've been 16 for a few months, once you get your permit, you still have to wait 9 months with it.
So they either they're 16 with the 9-month requirements, or either they have their own requirements, or they have to wait regardless, right?
Have to wait.
Regardless.
And this is a minimum requirement.
Right.
If you're still a bit rough on the road, feel free to continue practicing until you feel ready.
Yes, I think as a parent, I would love for them to have more time practicing on the road.
And you'll get it, or rather, you're required to have them get it as an additional requirement besides the 30-hour hours of classroom and the either 6-6 program or the 8-hour program of driving lessons, a parent has to give them 50 hours of additional practice. Now I say parent because it's usually a parent that achieves this.
Right.
A parent, a family member, older
any
sibling.
adult, right?
Any adult
that have over 21.
Over 21, 1 year with their license.
Okay.
Some parents do opt for some additional hours with Nova.
All right.
Especially because they don't feel like the teen's quite ready to practice with them yet. And so they want to do a few more hours just to make sure the teen feels confident when they eventually go back with the parent. But in any case, 50 hours have to be done of additional practice. 10 of those hours have to be at night.
10 hours, guys, 10 hours at night. So another question. So let's say that I'm a parent and, okay, my child just finished its 8 hours, 10 hours, whatever, but I feel like he or she might need more time. Will Nova provide that extra time, or how much can I have my child be in the program for Nova, like for behind the wheel?
Yeah, so it's actually a good segue into like our behind the wheel program. Now, behind the wheel program is not necessarily a pass or fail. You know, the student gets the hours that they need, and they're certified for the state. But we do give at the end of each lesson an evaluation that the student and the parent can review. At the end of your child's program, or maybe in the middle of the program, as you review those evaluations, you can make that decision of, oh, my teen's a pretty competent driver. All of the skills are being done satisfactorily. I feel confident with my teen on the road. If that isn't how the end of the program ends up, then you might decide maybe they might need a few more hours. We might even recommend a few more hours. It's up to you to purchase, and we have a variety of extra practice programs for after your teen finishes their driver ed program with us. But any supplemental topics will have to wait until the end of the program, or ideally after you've obtained the license. Such programs that parents are usually interested in are things like winter driving, stick shift driving,
or on the highway.
Yeah, or highway driving.
Yeah.
But if for a learning student, you know, we might go back to the basics. So for this parent to really maximize their purchase, it's probably advisable that they get those types of extra programs after the teen obtains their license. But if they're just looking for general driving lessons to really strengthen their experience, then Nova can provide that, from as simple as just an extra lesson or two. So if you would like to do the 50-hour program with us, feel free to.
Feel free. Yeah, because I want to make sure that my kid gets the best of the best, which is the programs that we have here in Nova. One of the, I'm not saying this because I work for Nova, but I'm saying this because it is what it is. We are one of the best driving schools here in Chicago. Do you agree with that?
Yeah.
Of course, he has to agree with that. If not, I'm gonna get him. No, just kidding. But let's continue with it, with the question. So now we have another question here that says, now we have options. We have 6 hours, 8 hours, how many hours the parents might ask. But now, okay, my child is ready. Okay, what do I need in order for me to take my child to the Secretary of State or the DMV? What are the documents that are required? So
let's talk about the fact that this will be a two-step process. You will be visiting the DMV at 2 points throughout your teen's journey to getting their license. First trip is to get the permit. At the point that they're ready to take the permit exam, they will receive essentially a permission slip. We call it the permit application form. This proves that the student is in driver's ed and they're ready to obtain their
Go ahead
permit.
And take the test, right? Because they have to have test pass first before in order they go to the next level, which is the process of getting the license, right?
Or more practice tests.
More practice?
The student eventually will take the permit exam at the facility. But we will have prepared them for that ahead of time. We prepare for them for that by going over exactly the questions and the answers they should expect at the DMV, the signs that they will need to know, not just for the DMV, but when they actually start driving, because if your teen passes that permit exam, they can literally drive home that day.
Wow, just simple as that?
Well, whether you want them to is another thing entirely. Everything is still at your discretion.
Parents' discretion, okay?
But going back to the permit application, so that's only one of a few documents. And this you can always find at the Secretary of State's website, but you'll have to prove your student's identity or your teen's date of birth. So that will be achieved through either your birth certificate, U.S. passport, U.S. green card, or if they have a state ID, the Illinois state ID. Second document is proof of Social Security card, your Social Security card. Your student most likely doesn't have a 1099 or anything. So it will be the actual card, and you do need the actual card, which is another, I keep saying the word overlooked, but that's the purpose of this episode, to make sure parents don't overlook anything in their teen's journey. And one of those things is social security card. You need the actual card. So you might need to order one when you, or where it is conditioned in the lead up to driver's ed. Third document is a proof of residency. Parents usually go with their teens, so the parent will be the proof of residence. If a teen wants to make a trip on their own, they are free to, but it gets it's a little tough. The teens don't often have a lot of proof of addresses.
Because they don't pay bills yet.
School transcript, bank statement. Other than that, there's not much else. It's really advisable to go with the parent to make this process a lot easier.
Does the parent need to bring some other type of documents to prove that they live in the same, like a bill or something like that, or just with the ID or what?
The ID will be the ID will be the main thing. The Illinois license or Illinois ID will be the one thing that they can use to supplement their teens. That the teen lives there. You as a parent are going, I'm the parent. He lives here.
Unfortunately.
And so those are essentially the documents. The payment, $20 for a permit exam, $5 for a state ID. We hope that this doesn't date the episode. They could change it next year as inflation. But those are, as of now, the prices.
Do you recommend the kids, because I asked this in the classes, if they have a state ID, 90% of them, they don't have an ID. So do you recommend to take advantage when they go take their test to get their permit to have an ID?
Absolutely. That will simplify subsequent trips to the DMV. That will simplify any time in which the student needs to provide form of ID. You don't want your teen running around with their U.S. passport, a very expensive document, and a document that can be very difficult to replace. Illinois is also implementing new types of ID called the Real ID. The Real ID, the same documents that I just mentioned are needed with the addition of another proof of address. So I would highly recommend teens get that. It is a federally verified state ID, and again, U.S. passport can stay at home where it belongs. If your teen needs to procure or provide a proof of identity for any situation, they are able to do so.
Exactly, especially when they're like, they're teen and they're going to start growing up, they're going to have to open their own, because anywhere you go, a bank or whatever, they will ask for a state ID, and I don't have one. Well, my school ID works? No. So this is a good chance to take the opportunity to have that ID, or the Real ID, which is, it's great. About that, when you're going to go get your requirements for your permit, I'm sorry. Okay, great. So it is necessary to have an appointment, because there's a lot of teens in the Secretary of State or the DMV. They just show up like, I want to give my, I want to get my test. I mean, do we have to make appointments now? Because back in the days we didn't have to. We just showed up and that's it. But what about now?
But back in the day, it was,
it was crazy too.
Yeah, DMVs are the classic comedian trope to say, the waiting in the DMV.
Just wait a long line.
And now it's unfortunately, a different type of, bad experience. It's not bad. So one, you do need an appointment now to visit most DMVs in the Chicagoland area. This is actually a recent change, a couple of days after the recording of this.
So we're brand new.
So minus Chicago Central, which is the downtown loop, all DMVs, including Chicago North on Elston, West on Lexington, South on King Drive, and a variety of the suburban ones, Deerfield, Melrose Park, Bridgeview, all require appointments. You can make these appointments at the Secretary of State website, ilsos.gov. There's a phone number that you also find on the website if you want to make a phone appointment. The appointments can be a little tricky. The availability that shows up on the website varies. A good majority shows up early in the morning. Some can show up throughout the day. It is advised for parents and students that they probably will make their appointment early the morning that they want to go. And so alongside that, we do provide that service within our own programs. Complimentary services that will make the appointment for you. If you don't want to wake up at 6:30 to make the appointment, we'll wake up at 6:30 to make the appointment for you.
And we'll make it for you. How convenient is that? So we have a web page and we have numbers. And I also, last time I drove by the Secretary of State, they have like a QR code to make your appointment. That's also kind of simplifies the making an appointment, or no?
Because
what do you recommend? Because as a parent, I just don't want to deal with the waiting. Sometimes, and one of them, technology is not my good thing, right? So I just need to phone call, but I'm gonna be waiting forever in the phone call. So which one do you recommend, or what is it the best way or the best route to take when you're making an appointment for your kids?
Right. So honestly, the QR code is there to help students or appointment clients of the DMV that are there that same day. Most likely, they're not going to get an appointment, but it's at least to allow them to make an appointment there on their phone. You do not expect to be able to do that. It is generally advised that you do it ahead of time, whether it's early that morning, or if you're trying to plan weeks in advance, and you probably should plan weeks in advance, going to their website. See the QR code, which you use a phone to use, and it takes you to a web page. They use that because the actual website, I mean, I can't even say it off the top of my head. It's a bunch of letters and numbers. So it is best, that you'll find that link on the Secretary of State's website. But scheduling in advance, scheduling early in the morning, that is going to be how you're going to get an appointment in DMV. Not showing up on the day of, expecting an appointment. Even downtown, one of the last, if not the last, appointment-free DMVs, because it's the last one, you will probably see a lot of lines over there. And parking, we're driving past downtown. We're not about to park downtown during this recording. It can be a bit rough over there. And so even that's not something we can recommend, going to the downtown DMV. So scheduling in advance, preparing in advance, that is a way that you can have a smooth trip over at the DMV.
Nice. So if they don't want to battle with all of this, ask Noah to help you.
Exactly.
Another solution, right?
Right.
Exactly. So, okay. So now your child has a permit. For how long is the permit, Anthony?
So, like I said before, minimum requirements are what they are. You or your teen may not be ready for your teen to acquire your license yet. But don't worry, you have at least 2 years with that permit to continue practicing. Ideally, you want to get the requirements done first. Most schools all schools are regulated by the state to provide a program for 9 months at a time. So between the first day of the classroom and the 9 months from then, your teen should finish that program, or the school has the right to make that credit null and void. Ideally, we don't want your teen to take their lessons so far apart that every time they start again in the parking lot, because they're not getting that consistent experience. So the 2 years is really for after driver's ed, for you to just space out the practice, get 50 hours, 100 hours, 150. Get enough practice that your teen needs. They have the 2 years to get it done.
Nice. So 2 years to practice. What else can we recommend to parents? Okay, well, so that's for the permits. What are the restrictions now that you have your permits for these 2 years? There should be restrictions. Yes. What are they?
So all this can be found on the Secretary of State's website. This is officially the Graduated Driver Licensing Program. That is how teen drivers is referred to in the eyes of the state. There are many restrictions, and all these are in response to the general risks of a young driver. Think about passengers. There's only one minor that can be allowed in the car with a teen while they're driving. Anyone under the age of 18 that is not related to the teenager. Because this is a restriction that persists after they get their license.
So no relatives on the car under.
That is the one exception, because after they get their license, we expect that some parents will rely on that teen to assist with kind of day-to-day tasks at home.
Right?
Yeah, so like, hey, pick up your son, your brother from karate practice or something like that.
Right.
Now, parents and teens should take into account that siblings are not the most behaved in the back seat. So if you think that might be a cause of distraction for your teen, you want to reconsider tasks like that when they get their license. But yeah, the general restriction is for minimizing the amount of distractions teens' friends can have in the car.
Yes, no teens, please. Yeah. No teens. Okay.
The second restriction is phone usage. Now, before you go, anyone shouldn't use their phone in the car.
Exactly.
Adults are permitted to use headsets, one over one ear, but essentially hands-free technology.
Exactly.
Unless you're a teen.
Which all the cars have that so there's no excuse.
Yeah, unless you're a teenager. A teenager is prohibited from interacting with their phone. They cannot use any hands-free device, any headset until they turn not 17, not 18, 19 years of age. This is not saying that you cannot have music playing, that you cannot hear audibly, turn right up ahead. But if you're going, oh, I put in the wrong address. Oh, I need to put the car in park and stop. You have to be off the road and in park before you can manipulate any of those devices. So in general, no phone use until you turn 19.
Nice.
Third restriction is curfew. Just the typical curfew for a minor applies to driving. That is weekdays 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. Monday through or Sunday through Thursday, and then Fridays and Saturdays 11 p.m. to 6 a.m. So that was 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. and 11 p.m. to 6 a.m. This curfew also persists after you get your license. Though if you have your license, your parent can be with you when it's after curfew. The permit can't be in the car after curfew.
Very interesting. So parents that are looking at this podcast, it's very important for you as a parent to understand these regulations and requirements, because your teens, I mean, they just want to drive, right? They just want to be able to be dependent, and they don't want to be dependent on parents. They just want to become independent. But it's a big responsibility for a parent, and for the kids too, to have a car.
And I like to add that we often don't get students who are just fresh to driving. You know, we usually ask students at the beginning of class, any of you have driving experience, and we range from a parent let them in the car in the drive-through, a teen is screaming in terror going 2 miles an hour in the McDonald's drive-through, or a teen who and sometimes is a genuine need of the parent to get help in their day-to-day errands, a teen who has already obtained experience on the road. Not the most legal of cases.
Right.
You have to understand that teenagers are often a source of traffic stops, random traffic stops, and so we want parents to kind of be the paragon, the example for the teen to know when it's okay, what is okay, what's not okay.
Right.
We don't want teens out there with only a permit and no adult in the car with them.
Exactly.
We don't want teens the adult's in the car with them, but they don't have the permit. Oh, we left it at home. Oh, we have the phone copy, or anything. And all of these things are not allowed. And the things that we have teens come home with for this information, the information that we send to parents, even the information in this video, it's up. We try our best in the classroom, but it's up to the parents to enforce this and make sure that their teenagers know that the things that are okay and not okay.
Yes. Well, now let's talk about something a little different now. So we are, as a driving school, we provide all these services. Now, share with us what's the cost of, or options and prices and cost of having a class for my kid.
Yeah, so at this point, there's a number of basic programs to fulfill requirements. So that is a complete classroom course in the 6 hours of driving along with 6 hours of observation, and then the classroom course with 8 hours of driving alone, one-on-one driving lessons. You have your choice here at Nova of home pickup or meeting at the school. The home pickup
very convenient in that home pickup. I don't have to worry about it.
Exactly. It's a bit of a premium, but at least you can rest assured that your teen can just sort of go straight home. You
don't have to worry about where he's at or where she's at, right?
Unwind from the day of class and then go right into their driving lesson. On the weekend, they just simply get picked up at home, and also the added benefit of where's your teen starting all of their driving practice from home? Where are they going to be driving from? From home. We have 8 Nova locations and growing all throughout the Chicagoland area. So for the most part, if you live in the Chicagoland area, we can meet you at home. So in any case, you can also choose to meet at the Nova location.
We have 8 now.
Yeah.
Which one are they? Do you know by heart?
Bucktown, Evanston. There's probably a graphic happening while I'm saying this. Jefferson Park, Norridge,
Fullerton, no.
Belmont, Cragen,
Cragen,
Oak Park, Little Village, Hyde Park, dot. And we have a number of high school locations. Some of them are open to the public,
nice.
Of which you can certainly look that up on our website. Now, I went over these basic requirements. There are also additional supplemental programs with 12 hours of driving, 10 hours of driving, 25, 50, along with the classroom program.
Anytime,
Yeah, again, if you want that supplemental practice. We're not going to mention prices just because it might date us a bit. Again, inflation.
If they want the prices, they need to go to our pages, call, or now that we're talking about, social media, because social media plays a big role. How can they find us in social media? Do you know that?
And, either through our website, novadriving.com. We'll also have that all summarized. You'll find us at anything requiring an @ Twitter, Instagram, and anything @ Nova Driving.
Facebook.
TikTok.
Follow us on Facebook.
Nova Driving School, and I believe we have one page for every location. No, but this is where you'll be able to find us on social media. We'll often run promotions for maybe new classes that just opened up, different schedules. Sometimes we even do like expedited programs, usually around like breaks, holiday breaks, expected times where students can get a lot of the schedule done and the break that they're, the days that they're off, and so that those programs can go, a bit quicker. 4 weeks rather than the 7 to 8 weeks or 10 plus weeks that our slower programs often go.
Nice.
But these are all of our variety of programs. In addition, we have partial programs. You only want the classroom, you only need the driving, we can get those done too.
Nice. Awesome. So people that are looking at this podcast, please go to our webpage at novadriving.com. novadriving.com. Very good. Thank you, Anthony. Oh my God, that was a lot of questions, a lot of information. Yeah. So this is gonna stay here on YouTube. Follow us on YouTube. We have a YouTube channel too where you can see all these videos. So in our podcast, more information we'll have in that podcast, Chicago Drive podcast.
Yep.
Okay. Well, awesome, Anthony. Well, thank you so much, Anthony. Just to do a recap, so we talked about how to get our license. First, what we need to do?
You need to be at least 15. You need to complete your classroom course and driving course.
Yes.
Let's actually take a sidebar here. Editing, we'll see how the edit works.
Yeah.
But we need to talk about those if they're 18.
Ooh.
Yeah. If they're 18,
that's considered as an adult, isn't it?
Technically not, because if you're 17 and 3 months old, you have a choice. If so it happens that you, in public school or in any school, you somehow missed the required driver's ed, whether in public school or just never chose to take it in private school.
Okay.
You may be coming up on a couple months after your 17th birthday and think, do I need to take driver's ed? Do I need to take adult driver's ed?
What is
adult driver's ed? Well, there is adult driver's ed. Even if you think, I'm not interested, I'll just get my license later when I turn 19, I don't have to deal with driver's ed. No, you still do.
Yeah.
Adult driver's ed is required for those under 21. There is still a classroom requirement required to get your license when you're under 21 years of age. If you got it in high school, great. If you did not get it in high school, or if you're at least 17 years and 3 months of age, you have an option to take adult driver education, which is a 1-day, 6-hour course. We treat it as the highlights of driver's ed.
Right.
Teaching
Most
things like
right?
defensive driving, straying away from DUI usage, the importance of vision and the visual field when driving, some skills, even some things that might show up on your permit or driving exam. But this is a course that you have to take to fulfill that classroom requirement. So the reason why it's 17 years and 3 months, we go back to the permit requirement of having your permit for 9 months. If you're 17 years and 3 months of age, 4 months of age, 5 months of age, and you get your permit, but turning 18 will happen before you get the 9-month period having fulfilled that. So you can get your license when you turn 18. At that point, the permit waiting period gone. The driving requirement, gone. Now, that is to say that you should not think of to just take the adult driver's education course, get your permit, and go, I'll just go get my license. You still need to do your driving practice.
You still need to do a lot of practice.
Yeah, whether you're your parent, or we have a variety of adult programs that not only will do the driving lessons with you, but when you're eligible to take the driving test, we'll be there waiting for you with our vehicle. Don't worry about the documents, don't worry about the appointment. We'll show you what's going to be on the driving test, and then you'll take the driving test in our vehicle at the DMV.
You don't have to worry about nothing, just to show up and do the test.
Exactly.
Right? So how convenient is that? It's awesome. These programs that we have here in Nova, you're gonna love it. So if you need more information, like again, you can follow us on our social media. You can go on our webpage. You can even call us. What's the number, Anthony? Do you remember by heart?
That I know. That's 773-489-2712.
Exactly. You can call us from what time to what time?
It's Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. Saturday, 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. And I don't know why I'm going through all this. 7 days a week, you can call us, 9 a.m. to 6 p.m.
Yes, if you do want to visit to any of our locations, you're more welcome to. We have 8 locations now that, you just choose which one is more convenient for you, which one is the closest to your place, and we let us do all the work for you. So Anthony, thank you so much for having explained to us all of this information about how our teens can get a driver's license. So just to finish up, because we kind of cut it off, let's recap. So 15 years of age, what else?
You need to complete a classroom course, 30 hours of
30
classwork.
hours, all right.
Driving lessons, we got to get those done. 8 hours of driving, or a 6-hour driving, 6-hour observation program.
All right.
You have to obtain your permit prior to that.
Permit,
That permit will then need to be valid for 9 months.
9 months.
And 1 day. And also that you have to be at least 16 towards the end to get your license.
And your 50 hours, you said too, right?
You
50 hours with 10 hours driving, night driving.
Yeah, 50 hours of additional practice with parents, responsible adults, or driving school. Once all that's done, you return back to the DMV, return back with all your documents again, birth certificate, passport, or state ID for the first document, social security card for the second document, proof of address for the third document, or your parent, and lastly, for the permit, $20. When you go back to the DMV, it's free. And that you'll pass a driving test. If you pass it, you'll get your provisional license.
All right, so this is the program, the team program that we have here at Nova. So thank you, Anthony, for coming to the podcast and chit chat with us here. And the new, not the new, but the people that are going to be watching us through Facebook and podcasts and YouTube and all of the social medias. Thank you again for watching. This was Drive Chicago.
Chicago Drive.
I don't know why I say it backwards.
I'm the guest.
Chicago Drives. What?
Podcast.
Chicago Drive Podcast. So I'm Naya Chota, your host. See you next time on the 4th episode of Chicago Drive Podcast.